Unfortunately, I'm gonna be the hater on this card. I honestly, I do hate cards like these.
80% of the people were playing the same freaking deck.
Welcome to WWB Ward Wide Broadcast. It's episode 32 of WWB, guys. It's a me and Billy episode. We got a lot to talk about. We just came off the back of the AJ tournament, Average Joe, if anyone doesn't know the shorthand, at the Curious Crow. That was this last weekend. And me and Billy both participated in it. So we definitely have quite a bit to talk about there. So we might just dive right into that just to start off. It was a pretty good turnout. I mean, I think we had like 14 people. Felt like 14, 15. Yeah. It must have been 15 because I think we had an odd number. So we ended up having to do a lot of buys, which is like, yeah, it's not a bad thing, but I kind of wish more people would have got to, just have everyone playing all at the same time. But yeah, for Average Joe, I might pass it over to you, Billy, but I think it turned out pretty well. I mean, I wasn't expecting. What the cards that ended up kind of being what I think maybe are like the stronger cards. Again, only one tournament, not a lot of data, but from what there were some cards that I definitely want to talk about that I think were a little out there, at least that I thought of, that eventually kind of are actually pretty powerful. If maybe we can go over those as we're talking through our stories. But what was your reaction to the Curious Crow tournament? I mean, if you could kind of just summarize how everything kind of went for you.
Yeah, it went pretty well. I'm happy with how it went. I mean, aside from the results, it was a good turnout. Everyone was a good participant.
Says the guy that got the win. Wait, whoa. Okay.
That's why I'm happy with the result. But
okay, it sounded like
you
said you weren't happy with the. It sounded like you
no. I'm happy with that. But
okay.
Other than that, I'm happy with like everyone had a good time. Everyone was good sports. Like played fair. No one's complaining. Like it was a fun time.
Yeah, it actually functioned.
That's
Oh, I was just gonna say it functioned really well, honestly. Like I was kind of surprised. Like I feel like it didn't really need many rulings. I meant most people kind of understand at that common level of how things work. So it was like it was actually pretty like solid. Just like kind of ran through it. Yeah, there wasn't too many like hiccups or anything that happened either. So I really liked it.
I mean, it largely felt like a regular tournament, which is what you want. A couple rulings questions. People played their games, and we had they said it was the winner's side of the bracket and then the not winner's side, and then you go with those and the meet at the end. But
I think I think Tristan at Curious Crow, he's getting pretty good about it. I know Ward's still kind of new, like just kind of like running Ward events. I think he's ran probably more than most of the people outside of like the Ward staff. And so it's like, yeah, I think he did a really good job of making it very engaging and very, just fun. And everybody, I think, was getting involved and having a good time and cracking jokes. It was a pretty light atmosphere, like you were saying.
Yeah. I had a good time. The format, for those who weren't there, it was double elimination, best of ones, and then the finals game. So the winner of the winner's side and the winner of the not winner side played best 2 out of 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think we'll slowly get there. I mean, do you want to just maybe talk through the first couple of games that you played and just kind of the key cards, like you said, that you might have noticed like playing and what ended up kind of being like Average Joe format?
Yeah, for sure. I will say I prepared my deck for things that maybe didn't show up, which is really interesting. So, like, or at least not in the quantities that I thought would. So, like, for example, I thought we would see a fair amount of full moon decks.
True.
I don't know if there's even one. I mean, yeah, I don't. People had werewolves, but like, and moon cats, but no full moons. I was also expecting Green Dragon to run around a lot. It was there, but I mean, like, it wasn't like the card. You know what I meant? It was just sprinkled in rather than being like a deck focus. So that was interesting as well. Also, some decks I was really surprised. Um, I knew Attack Beacon was good, but I didn't expect to see it so much. And yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise was getting to play against your son Owen. He did really well.
Oh yeah, no, I mean we'll definitely get to that, as we talk about it. I think just like if I was to talk about just key cards, and then yeah, like you said, we can kind of dive into a couple of those matchups that we found pretty interesting about like at the tournament. I don't think we have to like cover every matchup, but I mean, I think
Yeah, yeah,
there was a lot of things that kind of got discovered as we were going through the tournament that I think ended up having some fun with the average Joe that I don't think you'd really like see in just like normal competitive play. But for cards, I think that that I could say. Things that you're right, like when you brought up Green Dragon, like I mean, I know from our like league, we had the AJ format or the average Joe format, and basically, yeah, I think Green Dragon was kind of like the staple where a lot of people were like, is this creature just too strong for like uncommon level? I mean, it's even debatable. Like anything with 100 HP, I think like the ward staff personally just has to be very careful about how many of these like 100 HP like less than 6 AL or 6 AL creatures they make. I just think it is kind of at that range of like this card is always just going to be the best card, like if it is like that.
but it wasn't in the winning deck. Number two's deck had one, and then number three had zero. So I mean,
Yeah, I guess I'm not so much saying like just for average Joe. I just think in general, like going forward, like
okay,
AL6 creatures with 100 HP with just like the normal game award, I think is just always kind of like I think that is kind of where it sits on that power line of like you just that starts to get to like that end of the table where it's like this card just inherently like has a lot going for it. And like you said, I do think there are some pretty good counters. I mean, you brought up like where decks two and common on average Joe, and I was like, oh yeah, um, I thought I was expecting Weird X2. I was expecting Green Dragon. I mean, in my deck, I put Dragon's Banes just because I was like, you know what? I mean, there was one time where yeah, someone did summon a Green Dragon on me, and I did get two Dragon's Banes, so it was doing
well,
quite a bit of damage. But like so, it's not like the cards were like totally dead, but like you said, I definitely not as much Full Moon as I was expecting, or like Weird X with Full Moon. But speaking of werewolves, I was teching in a werewolf just one. I was going back and forth on just having like an Inferno Wizard, but in my head I was like, well, in that matchup, like instead of an Inferno Wizard and a creature with like 70 HP that's a 6 AL, I was like, werewolf honestly, like yeah, it's a little less power, like it's not a so like Inferno Wizard's a 3/3, but then werewolf's a 2/3. But it's like with if they are playing full moon, it's like I'm getting those benefits, which I think are just like way better than just like having an Inferno Dragon against a full were deck. So it's like I actually yeah opted to tech in a werewolf in my deck and my son's deck as we will get there. I mean he technically had two of them. Um, but some sneaky cards that the power level of that I think going forward is obviously Death from Above. We'll definitely probably talk about that card a lot, and then also I think Frenzy is definitely a card that we should we should bring up along with Electro Wizard. Definitely something that me and you both, Billy, were piloting. So we'll get there. But yeah, overall, like I think those were kind of the key cards. I meant I guess, like you said, if you want to go, Billy, maybe just talk about a couple of your matches and just kind of like what were the things like the pros and maybe we could give a couple cons to like stuff from like average Joe that like we maybe could see if we keep continuing to potentially have this format going forward with like ranked tournaments or something that I'd like to give a couple pros and a couple cons just because it's like there's always stuff to debate as much as me and you both might be like pretty big supporters of average Joe and like think that tournament like went very well. Maybe we could both give a couple opinions on that. So, what's your
oh
two
sure.
pros and two cons? And yeah, maybe to give a little anecdotal storytelling of your some games you played.
Leading the horse to the water, I'll drink it. That's fine. So pros, I like having a tournament where the playing field is completely even. I think people like crackbacks for the same reason, although there's a bit of randomness in there because someone could just get a ridiculous card in their crack pack. But for average Joe, I mean, has a very real opportunity to have like all the cards available to play. So it just comes down strictly to how do you want to make your deck and how do you think others will make their deck. So felt very fair, Well, felt very fair from that perspective. Okay, so I like that a lot. It was very much you don't get an advantage just because you have better cards. So that's good. Another pro. I think it's beginner friendly. I think there's not crazy cards that you have to remember what they do, and there's it's you don't have to be aware of like really ridiculous card combos and that kind of thing, and like different like Steam decks and Perfect Shark decks and Assassin decks. Like it's for the most part like you're gonna play your creatures and equip them and attack each other. Like it's very beginner friendly, and to someone who's just got into Ward and they want to play a tournament, I think it's a great place to go.
It's
Play an
interesting you
AJ
brought that
tournament.
up because yeah, I mean that is kind of like my son, like you alluded to. He did play in this tournament, and I honestly made this like his first like tournament to come into just because of that reason. Like you said, it's a lot less knowledge to like throw at somebody, especially he's a little younger, so it's like at a young age, it's like even for like kids, and I know that the ward staff promotes, they want all ages of people to play the game, and so it's like to have to make sure that there maybe is like a format or a thing that's easier than even like a crack pack, like you were saying, to like get these younger, audiences in. And like you said, it's a lot more simple where it's just like, oh, hit creature, play card, not here, let me shuffle half my cards back into my deck or any of these crazy legendary
Yeah.
abilities that we
Or like, I'm
experience at
gonna
the
give
top.
you a stone golem, and now that your primary creature goes to your deck, and now this is your primary creature. Oh, by the way, he loses 10 health. Like, it's okay,
Yeah,
okay.
or turncoat. Now I get to
Oh,
take your card, and yeah, no, there's a
oh,
lot of
and
those
by the
mechanics,
way,
and so like
yeah,
that's why like this tournament I was really excited because I was like, oh, my son, like he'd probably like enjoy playing this because like you said, it's a little more of like what we play at home, and like what like you said, it's like that's kind of what you play against younger kids with. It's like you don't usually bust out all these legendary cards. Some people might
you know,
disagree.
bust the move.
If you do bust out the legendaries against your kids, let me know in the comments and tell us why you're such a mean parent. Just kidding.
Well, yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah,
let's.
I think it's very beginner friendly. I think, there's not, there are certainly techs in there, there's certainly high level play and all that. But I mean, but for the vast majority of the games, it's pretty on the entry point. I like that a lot. Also, it's less stress. I'm not sweating every single match because I have to be worried about a billion combinations. There's just a couple to really worry about,
Hey,
So
corn creepers still exist at uncommon. Yeah,
yeah, he
you gotta
exists.
be a little
Oh, I know.
cautious.
He was in my deck. Uh, cons. I think an obvious con, and this is really a con right now, is there's not that many cards. Like the card pool is like 50 to 60 maybe. I don't know how many common and uncommon there are. And that's plenty to make decks, and there were quite a different variety of decks, and I'm happy with like I'm honestly pleased. I thought we would see less variety. But even with, I would like to see more cards, and I'm really excited for Gen 3, the play test obviously because I want to see the uncommons and commons. Um, See how that expands average Joe or it makes it better or makes it worse. I don't know. So yeah, the card pool could be bigger. I had a good time, and then I guess the other con is, uh, we play with the regular limit ban list, uh, which covers one uncommon and common card, which is Irresistible Love. So that was limited. But Metallic Bone, it, I played a lot of like I don't know practice games with Casey, and you know, we we both just kind of came to the conclusion it probably should be limited, but that's what the tournament was, so that's how we ran it. And from everything that I tested, I just was like, okay, it's Metallic One's gonna screw someone over. Uh, I don't know who's gonna be, but someone's gonna get the bad end of the bone stick, and That certainly happened.
Yeah, I want to be on board with you too with that. And I had a game where yeah, but actually me and my opponent both had probably like 6 or 7 turns where
No, I
one of us
watched it. I remember.
had bones or irresistible love, and it's just like yeah, I think the fact that irresistible love is almost the exact same kind of card too. I think it's like you're able to have like 4 copies of like potentially just like my opponent can't really do much. Again, I will always put this in there. You have Kendo Tiger that can potentially deal with that if you want.
Hey, buddy.
But I'm just yeah, Bunny Source in a sense. I mean, obviously your opponent can play around Bunny Source a little bit more, but yeah, again, it's just I do agree with you where I think at some point it's like having just 2 copies of that in your deck, and if you did limited like bone, I think wouldn't metallic bone wouldn't be so terrible. Just because again, it's just I would like to think it's not very like hard play to be like, okay, let me just play bone and see how long this card sits on my creature, right? It's like yes, sometimes there are good scenarios where you're actually like playing it to its like full potential, but most times it's like, okay, let me just bide time, right? Let me just get more turns where my opponent has to potentially just roll out of this. And I think that is kind of just like the play style of that card, and unfortunately if you have 3 copies of it, you don't feel that pressure of like I need to play this at a you know certain moment to like give it impact. It's like, oh, I have 3 of these, let me just play one now so that maybe in 4 turns I'll draw another one and I can just play that next. And I think
That's
yeah,
funny.
well, like you
I
said.
don't I don't agree with that. I play metallic bone when I need to endure a hit. You know what I mean? Kind of like I need this attack, and I only count for it on my turn, right? Because like
Right.
50% chance they're gonna get right, and it's only gone for one turn. Whatever. So and the majority of times is what happens, but we remember the bad ones.
Hmm.
So
I
when
just
I play it, I'm treating it like a one turn, we're not getting hit or we're not getting hurt, and then anything after that's gravy.
yeah.
So
But either way, like you're saying, it's like some people can, you get a lot of value out of just having that card because yeah, it's like if at least one turn of hitting without anything that they can really do in response, and then it's just like okay, even if this goes away, I still have 2 more of these in my deck and an irresistible love. It's just I don't know. I think you might be on have a good point of like it is just a lot of just like damage negation, which first off, in my opinion, just extends games longer. And second off, it just lets less like fun cards, I would call them, like kind of like those like out of the box cards that maybe like help with certain matchups come into the game, just because of the fact that it's just like here's this inherent thing that just kind of covers a lot of the things that you need to deal with in common and uncommon at this moment.
yeah, and part of the reason that the we'll call it the one sidedness of the match where I had I'm going to say 10 turns of metallic bone is because not only did I get 10 turns of me not taking damage from metallic bone, but my opponent was also not playing with metallic bone either. So because I had quite a few matches where like there'd be 1 or 2 turns that I'd have metallic bone up, and then my opponent puts it on, and then like we both roll out of it. We both don't roll out of it, and so it's like okay, so you neutralize it if both people are playing it. But I think the really the fun and interactive quote unquote gameplay part of that, where you just keep not rolling a 1 to 3, um, was really felt if when my opponent didn't have it at all. They didn't play with irresistible love or metallic bone, so I had 4 cards to stop them perpetually on bad rolls, and they didn't have it. I mean, it was bad enough that like after like turn 5, I was like, I think your dice are broken. Try mine. And like then after the first one didn't work, and then the second one did. So 7 turns, right? So
Right.
uh,
I
and
love the fact that you were like, here, let me give you my dice.
well, I mean, at some point, it's like, come on, like I hate it for them because it's like the deck that they were playing should have beat mine.
That's what I was gonna say. You feel
It's
you feel bad too because it's like yeah, it's like that card almost is like you feel bad too when it's just like turn 6 and it's just like, oh yeah, no more. Like you still don't get the, you didn't roll out of it. It's just like, okay, this card is giving me way too much value for what I paid. It's like I didn't pay anything for this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But pay being it put in my deck and I played it.
Yeah.
And the bad thing is like, okay, it was on for 7 turns. And then as soon as he rolls out of it, I had been accumulating cards in my hand, so guess what comes out? The next one. And if he rolled out that, I got a third one. So it's, and then the irresistible, so yeah. If we play more average Joe tournaments with the current set of cards, I'm a fan of limiting Metallic Bone.
Yeah.
But like I've said, like on the Discord, I'd be happy to revisit that if there's common and uncommon cards in Gen 3 that maybe neutralize that, or I
Yeah.
don't know.
I guess the thing about it is the card inherently isn't so powerful that it's not like it's the biggest deal. Like you said, it's like you put it on like for other ward cards, it's like they've had to like change the whole text and change the whole effect, and it's like they're not doing that with this card. So like, yes, throw it on the for right now if it's super oppressive, especially in this average Joe format, throw it on the list. Like you said, if at any point it feels like it's like, all right, we don't care about it being in there anymore, like take it off the list. It's not like it's gonna cause any problems, and I don't think anyone's gonna complain too much. And so yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that statement. But I do think you're right. I think an average Joe, it's just we don't really need that many cards of like this just stops damage. It's like you got Future Warrior, which is another common card people are putting in their decks. I mean, Billy, you did bring up a deck. Somebody actually third place at the tournament, Lenrod. He played what was it like? Just a pure just damage like attack. Like he had like Sword from the
it
Grove.
was.
He had Elven
I
Scout.
like the
He
deck
had
a lot. It's essentially all gas, no brakes. I'm not going to stop you, but I can beat you faster than you can beat me, and
mhm.
that's a very valid deck. And I kept looking at it. I like it the more I look at it. So, it's just you throw one bone and one love in there, and it's pretty good. So there's lots of different ways to go with it. I like the idea of it.
Well,
And of course, his
he
frenzy was in there too.
That's
So
what I
you're
want to
you're
say.
getting
He was the deck that really utilized Frenzy, and like me and you were running a Electro Wizard. And if you don't know how Electro Wizard works, basically if you pass your turn, the next turn that it comes back to you, you get to add 4 attack dice onto your attack. So basically, you want to stall. But the thing about his deck playing Frenzy is you have to attack every turn, so you never get to use that effect. So it actually like countered my deck and Billy's deck pretty heavily. I
there.
played against him and he beat me with it. So it was
There is actually a scenario, even with frenzy on the field, that you could still get your effect, but I tried it and I still didn't get it. So Electro Wizard technically says if this card doesn't attack this turn, the next turn he gets 4 dice, right? So that leads to things like on turn one, when you play your creature, he doesn't attack, so he gets his dice. It
hmm,
also means if your creature dies in battle on your turn and you summon your new creature and it's Electro Wizard and you go straight to out of combat, oh, well, he didn't attack this turn, even though Frenzy is on the field. So your next turn, you do get the +4. So there are ways, but it's just such a hard counter to Electro Wizard.
hmm. Yeah, and I think that is something that you do find in average Joe. I think there are a lot of cards that do inherently counter. I mean, I was surprised. I was expecting more Mind Sap, and honestly, like I feel like almost nobody was really running Mind Saps. Like I think people were just happy to kind of be like, here, like I'll let whatever your effect creature is, I'll let your creature kind of have its effect. I think maybe at the moment there isn't like too many powerful effect creatures that's like the people maybe just aren't that worried about it. They'd rather just go for the damage or go for the protection.
I was certainly worried about it. I put 2 timeouts in my deck, and I only found Mind Sap once.
Yeah, but timeout also
Connor,
stops Minotaur Bodyguard is another one that stops. I mean, it's not just.
did you see any miniature bodyguards? I didn't
Yeah,
see them.
there was a couple played on me at the
Oh,
my
okay.
early
I didn't get
matches.
any. Well, maybe
Mm-hmm.
because I was playing timeout, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had one timeout played on, or one mindset played on me before I can get timeout. I was like, someone is playing it.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's the kind of the funny thing about timeout too. It's like if they've already played Mind Sap, it doesn't shut down Flash. It just you
Yeah,
can't play. So it's like you're kind of
can't play
already.
anymore.
It's kind of one of those races to who gets whatever first. I didn't even think about that either. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I found that at least in my games, I didn't run into Mind Sap almost at all, and I also personally didn't put Mind Sap in my deck for that very reason because I was just in my head I was looking through a lot of like the creature effects. There are a couple creature effects that I'm still potentially gonna try to build decks around that don't really. I mean, it yeah, Mind Sap can affect them quite heavily, but like even with our decks, like you said, like Electro Wizard, it's like, oh yeah, Mind Sap would be pretty strong against him. Another way to kind of shut him down completely, but yeah. Let's see. So you gave two positives, two negatives. Here I'll do my positives and negatives. One of my big positives, I actually think the games are very smooth and quick because they're almost quicker than like average games or like standard play of Ward. Due to the fact that, like you were saying, Billy, it's not a big barrier to entry for like a lot of cards to be used at that level, and so I think, like I said, like rulings feel like they're pretty easy to get across and things. So it's like there is very little that like stalls out the game. I mean, again, we were talking about the damage negation, but there are cards like Judgment, Revival Priest, like these cards, like again that we brought up that like kind of keep like the game going, and like Graveyard Recursion and all this stuff. So it's like I actually find that like I feel like there's like a pretty standard amount of time, and it's like usually pretty like quick compared to like a standard game award that like you can kind of like rip through these games. So it's like I actually think the average Joe format has a lot more of like, especially if you like put Metallic Bones on the limited list, I think those games will go even quicker. And so it's like, yeah, I actually like the speed and efficiency of which like uncommon and commons kind of function at least at this moment. In the future, this could totally be like out of date and just I just think with like right now at this moment, you have like the 60 cards of like common uncommons or like, and so at that point it's like, oh, like we don't have a ton of abilities in the game yet,
Yeah,
or like things that it's like we're concerned about, and so like I said,
yeah,
this could be terrible information going forward, but I do think games definitely go a lot quicker at this moment at like average Joe format.
yeah, and they may even be. We talk about cards that could be a problem. I mean, who knows? If we get any kind of magic destruction in Gen 3 at the common and uncommon level, like just like blow up a card. You've got I think that honestly would expand the format so much because right now it's just very much field's full, your field's full. They're not going to wait till I kill the creature unless I play McKendo Tiger. So I think, eh, even simple stuff like that. Who knows?
Yeah. I do like that. I am gonna kind of keep rattling through though my positives. I do agree with you, Billy. Like you said, it's like there will definitely be in the future probably more effects in the game that kind of just like add to average Joe, which is great. It's like we want that to be the case. It's like I secretly with the way Hive Lord is, I kind of hope that they make like a little tiny like summoning bee creature that maybe he in average Joe at some point might be like the summon deck. I hope they expand like the bee hive or whatever the hell Morse, but have like weaker versions of like Black Jacket and stuff. I don't know if they will, but you know what I mean. That would be kind of funny if you
Yeah,
actually were
yeah,
able to
yeah.
get like an uncommon like Hive Lord plus just a little bee summons. Where was I going? Oh, my second positive. I had it in my head. Oh, mechanic wise, I think honestly, average Joe in itself is going like it positively has like its own kind of like mechanics to the that are like kind of separate from like standard. Like again, you have to really think about. I mean, there was many times where a lot of people, you spam out your cards and you realize you're like, oh, that's five, like um infinite cards because again in
Infinites.
Ward you can only have five infinite magic, so it's like I do think there is a lot of this fun play of like in my deck I put a lot of career buccaneer and these like standard magic cards, and I think like you were saying as the pool gets bigger it's gonna be just so much fun to be like trying to find that like good ratio of like, here's my infinite magics, here's my like standard magics that I like want to put in my deck. And I think that's actually a really fun aspect of Average Joe that like you don't really put too much thought into when you're playing standard, but like in that format, it's like you definitely get that opportunity to be like, here, how many standard magics do I need? How many infinites? How many, and it's like, what's your thought with that? I thought that's actually a really fun dynamic of like Average Joe format.
Yeah, I found that out. I built my first average Joe deck and I put a ton of equips in there. And then I realized after playing, I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm filling up my hand with, because I was like, I want my cards to go a long way, right? So if I
Mm-hmm.
play them once, they're one and done. But if I play on a creature, I could use it over and over again. But I found out, like, you can only play five. So all of a sudden, now you're holding cards in your hand. And then you have to start tossing, which is even worse. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, yeah. So like I got that pretty quickly and then all of a sudden turned into like, oh, well, I don't know what the right ratio of infinites to single use is. And I started peppering in a lot of the single use cards and there's I don't know if I stuck to like I didn't like say I'm going to use X ratio. I just like looked and played and changed, looked, played, changed and like kept going until it felt right, where I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have like I wasn't uh I wasn't like holding cards and couldn't play them. I was
Right.
mostly holding and waiting for the right time, which is what you want.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. But like you said, I think it is just like a fun thing of like, it's just another aspect that it's like, oh yeah, I can't just put a whole bunch of like equip cards that have infinite, and I have to actually like think through like this process of like, all right, where can I make my deck strong? Maybe where am I weak? Like, what can I put in here that's just standard magic? And honestly, like when they first like explained that, when I remember like watching the tutorial videos for Ward when I was first learning, and I was just like, oh, that's like a very interesting thing, that's like you can have those five infinites because like I come from Yu-Gi-Oh. Once you've used all those slots, like you can't play any more Magic, so it's like it's kind of cool that it's like not. Yes, you can't play these infinite magics, but in Ward, it's like you can play these standard magics and still like play like your like negates and stuff. And I think that whole mechanic is like very just underutilized, and probably a lot more discovery needs to come in that aspect of just like how they go about making standard magic, how they go about making infinite, how they like all those things. And I just think again, another really positive aspect that I thought of coming out of like Average Joe format. And so it was pretty fun having that. Cons, I do like obviously it's not so much a con. I don't want to like say it's terrible, but at the same time, it's like this game it will only get better, Average Joe format, with more commons, with more uncommons. Like again, it's like not that I think everything's super solved, but at the end of the day, it's like you do only have a small pool at the moment, and like the more cards you get, you can just tell that there will be just way more like definitive decks and things and formats and stuff. And I'm just excited to see it grow, but at the same time, I'm a little sad that we don't have more cards to kind of play with the pool. And obviously, Gen 3 will hopefully kind of like satiate that feeling too, and make it more, more cards, more things, more combos, more stuff. And then one other, let's see, my last con. I think I do. I don't know. I have a lot of nice things to
Just let
say.
it rip. Just
Let it
it's your
rip.
opinion, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
let it rip.
Uh, I do find that for some of those cards, like in that uncommon or like they're not balanced too well. Like you said, it's like not, and again, not that the game has to be balanced at a common uncommon level, but like you said, there are just certain inherent cards that are like here, you won't, I know Nightmare Claw is a common card, but it's like Elven Scout is just a better version of that. You know what I mean? Like there is still that like feeling of like, oh yeah, this is just like a better version. And so it's like it is kind of sad that like some of those cards might not see play. Obviously, there could be effects in the future that are like, ooh, dice rolled or just damage base or whatever, right? So it's like maybe there'll be ways to flex those cards in. But yeah,
Or
I do think honestly it's like kind of just like a Ward thing in general of just like how are they gonna figure out how to make like cards that replace this? It's like Elven Scout is basically it gives you +6 to damage. It's just like having a dice that you're always rolling a 6 on. Like that's the way I view it. I don't know how everybody else looks at it, but it's just like that is just kind of a powerful card. It's like, oh, if you could always make your dice do max damage, like why wouldn't I take that? And so it's just. I don't know. I guess maybe that's just a little gripe, but at the same time, I get it. They want to have different rarities of cards. I just personally, I'd like to have it where it's like all these cards have a place, to be used. Which, speaking of that, Billy, I think we could transition over to the combos, a couple combos that I think we might need to discuss about what goes on since we were definitely testing out the average Joe. What were some pretty big combos at that tournament too?
I mean, I think the biggest combo was which got played by multiple people is Ring of Extremes and Death from Above. I mean, playing Casey in our little games, like practicing, he called it the backstab of AJ. And it kind
No.
of feels like that,
Well, if
because
people
you
don't
auto
know,
hit.
yeah, people don't know, Death from Above basically makes it so you're always gonna hit, and so there is a unique interaction with Ring of Extremes. Which Ring of Extremes, you have to crit, but basically you kind of put yourself like in a situation where it's like, if I get 8 or lower on, so you just roll 2 hit dice. You don't get to add any more hit dice or anything like that. So you can't really like modify the card in any way. But if you roll a 1 through 8, you have to hit, it's a critical miss, which normally that would just be, rolling snake eyes, 2 ones. But now you're making the ratio like way higher to miss. But if you do hit 9 through 12 on those 2 dice, then you get to do double damage. But the thing about the way that Death from Above works is it takes that and just says, I'm not going to miss. And so you just insta crit. And so, like you said, a very justified name. I would call it like poor man's backstab.
Or bands backstab.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is like that combo like was found was played in a tournament setting at the Legic Studios on me by Michelle because I had put it was crack pack, and I had a Ring of Extreme. I put it on her, and then she had a Death from Above because it's a combo card, and she was like, "Well, I'm gonna play that." And I'm like, "Well, you still gotta roll for it." She's like, "No, I don't think so." I was like, "Yeah, we can call a judge for that. You're not getting an auto crit." And they came up with like, "No, it automatically hit, which means it's a crit." And I'm like, and so it's in the Ward case law. So
Yep.
you go read it on the website.
Yeah, I mean that was a big heated debate. Everybody, that was one of them that I will say that yeah, people were just like, "Oh, that's how that works." A lot of people like didn't know, but hey, that's the power of knowing that knowledge. Like you said, I mean, the only reason you did know it, Billy, is because yeah, unfortunately, you had to be on the bad end of it at
CGN.
a different tournament, so you already got to feel the pain of it. But at the end of the day, I do really think it's good to have that. Like I don't mind having that like 2 card, combo kind of like damage dealing. Like I don't know. I think it's very balanced and like you said, just having a counter to Ring of Extremes like that, I think is kind of a fun. Anytime that there are cards like that where it's like, oh yeah, there's like almost a counter to every card in the game, and I really do think, like you said, it's a pretty fun combo to use. And Billy, I think you kind of modified it and pushed it to its limits. I don't know if you want to maybe talk about what other cards you added to make it a bigger combo.
Sure. Double hit is common card, lets you hit your opponent twice. They can rebuttal once. Um, but as I like to do a lot, the
As
extended
Billy did to
description.
me in our match. Let's not talk about Billy taking
No,
advantage of that.
Harry was kicking my butt pretty bad, and then I played a combo that pretty much turned the game. He had a headless knight, might have
Hmm.
had 60, 65 HP, something like that. And I had my Electro Wizard, and he had his attack charged up. Maybe had an Elven Scout on there, and so I played Ring of Extremes, Death from Above, and I played Double Hit. So now, not only am I getting my crit, I'm getting it twice,
Mm,
and I'm getting it with the charge shot, and I'm getting it with the Elven. So like it adds up into one big Kamehameha.
yeah,
And so of course it's enough to kill the headless
headless.
knight.
Yep.
But the extended description of double hit says if you kill their creature with the first hit, you still get to hit with the second hit when they summon their next creature, which is stupid.
Which, yeah,
But it's in the
which
rules,
basically
so
breaks the battle com. I mean, I'm a little frustrated with it. Not again, whatever. I think it's a cool card. As soon as I've seen double hit when I started in Gen 2, I really wanted to try to find ways to make it like viable, and I didn't, really find too much. But now knowing how that works, because as everyone knows, I don't read the extended text as much as I probably should for being someone who plays this game
I
such
read
a
them
bit.
all.
Well, yeah, I think at some point I'm gonna have to be that guy with my eyeballs just fried from literally just scrolling through every extended text on every card. But but either way, like you were saying, Billy, it's like yeah, in the extended text, so it's like normal battle. If you killed their creature, it just ends combat. But this one card, double hit, basically just says nope, we're gonna keep combat going or start a new combat as long as you kill them on the first turn or the first attack with double hit. Now you get to summon their next creature, and then you get to do it again. So like Billy was saying, he's getting to do this double damage to two creatures with all this power. So yeah, he basically two shot two of my creatures that were over like 60 HP, and basically just totally turned the game on my head, and yeah, wrecked me
Yeah,
pretty good. So
I've been thinking about it because the rules do say if you kill their creature, combat ends, go straight to the second or the whatever the fourth phase is. But double hit does say you get to declare battle twice. So
yeah,
I don't know if that was intentional. Probably not. I mean, but either way, like the cards meant if you get your two hits, you don't get cheesed out if they have one HP left,
right.
which might be a good time to use it. Um, but yeah, another kind of like just going on with like the whole Ring of Extremes Death from Above. I would really would have liked to used it with Frenzy too, because Death from Above is for a turn cycle, which means you also get it if they happen to attack you. Normally they won't,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean if you force them to with Frenzy, that's another fun one. So
Yeah, it was something that I like too with like Career Buccaneer and like a lot of those like one
yeah,
turn cycle cards. It's like, hey, yeah, it's one turn cycle, so like let's get them to do this thing. I think
yeah.
you're right.
Lenrod used that a lot. He had a lot of like he had three Buccaneers, three Surprise from the Deeps, I think, and like Frenzy forced it, so he's getting all the value out of those cards. It's not just one turn; it's one turn cycle, so it's two hits.
Like you said, it's like there are a lot of fun little combos, honestly, in Average Joe that, in my opinion, they're pretty satisfying when you get them to pull off. I mean, even after I got beat by you, it was like just getting to see that combo is like, oh yeah, like I kind of had like a babier version. I didn't really have like that full. I mean, I had Ring of Extremes, I had Double Hit, I had Electro Wizard, and then I mean, I basically did have all the cards. I just did not know that worked in that sense, and so I probably unfortunately, Billy was able to outbest me with the knowledge that he had, and you know what I mean. Hey, that he sat
We
there
were
and
essentially playing a mirror match.
yeah, for the
We had
most
very
part.
similar decks. Yeah.
But somebody actually prepared their combo a little bit better, and the other guy was just throwing cards down, doing what he's doing.
If
But
you
either
had
way,
fun, that's all that matters.
yeah, it was a fun game, and like I said, Billy definitely used it with Corn Creeper 2 to its fullest because even just Ring of Extremes plus Death from Above with a Corn Creeper is times 10 damage. So it's like yeah, even if he
Amazing.
has a 2 plus two dice roll with a plus 2 modifier, it's like almost every creature in uncommon are basically going to get one shotted by that. So it's like a lot of this pretty instant power damage, and a lot of people were like, oh yeah, like that card, like Death from Above plus Ring of Extremes is I think will definitely be something that most decks tech in, even if they don't run it at like the full capacity of like 3 Ring of Extremes, 3 Death from Aboves or anything like that. They're definitely going to be putting in at least probably 1 ring, 1 death, just to have that like
Just
combo
in case.
available. Yeah. And then like you
Actually,
said,
I had two rings in my deck. I didn't have three.
yeah, but like, well, you were
But I
running like
mean,
that
yeah, I
double.
know.
You were doing like that
Yeah,
double hit thing, but I don't think like everybody has to like run like the double hit thing. It's like you just
you don't
depending
have
on
to.
what you got going. Just having that combo kind of in your back pocket is always great. But yeah, I mean, like you said, you ended up going to the finals, and yeah, and then Owen too. I mean, he had a really fun day. He was having a good old time with it, and he was running that attack beacon. Like I said, I kind of just gave him
Hmm.
Inferno Wizards plus attack beacons plus a headless plus two. Because if people don't know, this is another tech that I think why Werewolf is. I mean, it kind of doesn't outmatch with Infernal Wizard, but it also runs well with Attack Beacon because since he is a 6 AL base for Werewolf, he is able to basically get that buff too, and that's kind of also why I think it's a pretty good tech card for like the game, because obviously it's like Were Rat also gets that effect, which in a theory Were Rat might be a better version. It's hard to say. I mean, he is just a 1 dice, but he does have that +5 modifier, which I think any creature with a 1+5 is just like, yeah, it's pretty strong creature. So it is debatable. I'm kind of seeing if it's better to run a Were Rat or a Werewolf, but anyway, that was the kind of the deck he had. He also did have the Ring of Extremes, and he had the Death from Above. I also think Ring of Extremes is a good card in general. We didn't really cover this with it either, Billy. Just to play on your opponent too. Like there are plenty of times, that it's like, oh, like I don't have any way to protect myself, and let me play Ring of Extremes, and yeah, maybe they get lucky with their big hit, but there's also like way more of a chance that they just miss and then they do damage. I mean, even in our game, Billy, I think there was a point where we both played a Ring of Extremes on each other, and yeah, we were both just like hurting ourselves. You're just sitting there like, all right, try to roll, you try to roll, and it's just like, yeah, it's definitely. I think Lenrod too. He in his frenzy deck, he also had that where it was like Ring of Extremes of my opponent, so they have to attack every turn. So then they all have to damage themselves, or get the crit off. Things like
Yeah,
that.
and
I
if
think.
the math tells you the damage output is less, if you put it on your opponent, the damage output is less if they're just rolling 2 dice and they don't have a death above,
Yeah.
because you're gonna roll 1 to 8 70% of the time, and 9 to 12 30% of the time. So even though the 30% they do double damage, 70% of the time they're not attacking you at all and actually damaging themselves. So it's a net positive.
No, for sure. But either way, the finals pretty good. I mean, Billy obviously, yeah, I think definitely had the combos, had the cards, but no, it was a really well matched. Like I said, it's just I do think, just the more cards that get added to Average Joe, I think will just, increase it. But it was a fun tournament, Curious Crow. I'm glad that they threw on the first AJ, and I'm glad that the ward staff were allowed, this to be like a ranked. And so, everybody had a good time and, got their rankings and got their stuff. So honestly, like it was just a good turnout all in all. So pretty
I
happy with
think
that.
I think my favorite part of the tournament was actually seeing Owen do so well, because we played in the finals, right? But we actually also played. My very first game was against Owen, so he beat me and I lost, and he just took me by surprise. It did really well, and he kicked me out and put me in the not winners bracket to start with. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Well, like you
Harry made his
said,
deck really well.
I don't know, those attack beacons, like you were saying, if you don't really have cards that go well with attack beacon, and then your opponent does, and they just happen to get like that, like rush out, it's like, yeah, the damage can be just insane. Like you're just
Yeah.
like taking like 30 damage a hit. You're just like, I guess I just die in 2 hit. Like all my creatures are just gonna die, and like if I just don't get what I need, yeah, no, it can be pretty terrifying. But you know,
I made an attack beacon deck like a couple days before the tournament, and I was like, "Wow, this plays really well." But I haven't tested it near enough to know what I'm doing with it, so I'm gonna stick with what I prepared, and it worked. But like, attack beacon's kind of strong.
no, 100%. But anyway, I think that was a good coverage of Curious Crow. Like I said, a lot of new faces too that made it out there, so it was pretty good. I think
For sure.
that little like the cities, the Minneapolis area, I think a lot of people are starting to kind of pick up the game, and so we definitely keep seeing a lot of new faces coming in, and so it's like I'm very happy too with that, with the turnout, with the tournaments. But again, AJ Billy, winner of the first AJ tournament, so he gets to have that title.
Woo!
He won the first Average Joe ranked tournament. But moving forward, we're gonna go on to another tournament that's happening this weekend. We're gonna keep them on rolling. We have the Irresistible Ward tournament at Globe. We've already kind of covered all the stuff. Again, it's Swiss, and then it's bracket. We've already kind of went over that. I'm gonna kind of go through this a little quick. Just again, anyone who can make it out to it, it's on Sunday, the 28th. So at from noon to 6, but registration is at 11. And basically, yeah, just show up. Again, it's a construct your own deck. So bring your deck, bring all your legendaries, all your cards. This is an Average Joe, so don't make that mistake. Make sure you're bringing all your your decks that you or all your legendaries and epics and mythic and everything that you want in there. So, but nah, that'll be a fun tournament. Like I said, we already kind of went over. Obviously, again, I'm a big proponent of Swiss into a bracket. I really want to see how this performs at this tournament. And like I said, John, again, big shout out to him. Thank you for throwing on a tournament, like this, because I just think going forward, this might be like one of the best ways to do the format. I mean, again, Billy attests. We did this in the WWB league, and I think that also, kind of turned out pretty well. So I really like that format. But again, get out to that tournament Sunday from noon to 6, registration 11, $25, not too big of a thing for people like us who are paying $20 for starter packs. So and again, you get a lot of packs if you win and stuff. So every win you get a booster pack and stuff. So it's like you're kind of going to get the value back of what you pay. So it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But there you go. Make sure to make it out to that tournament. Just a quick little run through, because like I said, we've kind of covered it a couple times. So there we go. Moving on, Billy. We're gonna talk about some KC combos. We haven't had our combos in a little bit. Let's get some combos, and not the ones we were just talking about at Average Joe. Let's
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into
yeah.
some big powerhouse combos. I do
Uh,
like on the episode with Marty, he just went total buck wild on all of our stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I can't do that judgment combo with Necro anymore. And it's like, okay, Marty, thanks for ruining
well,
all of our
okay.
fun.
To be fair, he said it's coming. It's not here yet.
All right,
So
yeah. So get your
go
Necro,
play your judgments. Go play your necros before it's shut down.
go get your
Uh,
necromancers.
okay, Casey combos. I think I'm gonna run with um I'll play it's not necessarily a combo, but it's three cards that should work together pretty well. We'll say Giant Turtle, Twister, and Demonic Demon Dragon. Right.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
all right. So you got to work with me for a minute. So there's not a lot of draw power in the game, but Twister is, so you can play those and draw two. Both players draw two. And then uh, Giant Turtle makes the game go pretty slow because it takes a while to kill. It's 50 HP, it takes half damage, right? And that's including burn cards. So um,
As long as it's slower than the creature,
as long as the
sometimes
speed is slower, yeah. So
sometimes
it's a
that
speed one.
yeah.
So yeah, you could get host there, but as long as your opponent's a two or higher, then yeah, the effect works. So you can play your giant turtle first, let them draw a bunch of cards, and then when they're at 8 cards, maybe you've drawn a twister or two. You can either get rid of it, you can let your giant turtle die, or you can just kill it, play demon dragon, rip another twister, and now they're drawing two more cards, so now they're at 10, and then your demon dragon is now an 11 plus 11, bigger than the creator, the biggest glass cannon. So that averages out to be like uh 49 damage, almost 50. Like that's pretty good, and that can one shot a lot of things. So yeah, there you put your giant turtle, slow them down, make them build their hand up. You play Twister to make it even bigger, and then to hit them hard and hit them big, and then to really hit them where it hurts. On their turn, they're gonna have to discard down, so down to 8.
No, exactly. And like you said, Demon Dragon in that sense, it's the one downside I find of that card is obviously just its speed. It is like speed like 5 or 3 or something. I don't know. It's like it's a pretty slow creature, but like at the same time, it's like as long as you're not going up against like assassin or something, like dude, that card hurts. It's almost like another version of like a corn creeper. Like again, he kind of fits that same realm of like 30 HP, and then you just get this big whack of a hit. And you're right, it's like you said. I meant a little more setup, but
You've activated my trap card. I've mentioned two really slow creatures. You know, it goes with really slow creatures. Reverse polarity, and even if your speed is faster than giant turtle, just because you play reverse polarity, the effect still works. Even giant turtle's hitting first. So if you need a speed buff or for both of them, really, you can just put giant polarity and keep the effect going.
that's fair. I do like that a lot too. I if you have the higher end cards too, I think Cosmic Negation plus Demon Dragon, just the fact of like you're kind of like inherently making them draw cards. Yeah, and they can't really do much in response. So like you said,
Ooh.
two twisters into like a cosmic negation or something.
Cosmic negation.
Yeah, so
That's
then you're really just
disgusting.
like getting that full discard effect, as long as they can't stop it, obviously, and then it's like, yeah, and on
I
top
was
of it,
trying to keep it, yeah,
yeah,
epic and under.
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But anyway, all right. I like your combo. Hopefully people go try that out. Get the dragon, get the giant turtle, like you were saying, uncommon and an epic, and then yeah, it's like not too much twisters are rare. It's like usually pretty easy to get your hands on. Some people might still be looking for that demon dragon, but for me, I'm gonna do the ultimate control deck that every control deck might revert into at some point. But you already brought
All
up a card, Time Melt. Time Melt is a very powerful card that can shut down a lot of things. And Time Melt on top of a Foggy Night, I feel like is probably one of the most oppressive things that can possibly exist in Ward, where you're only able to basically use creatures and you can't use flash cards, so no mind sap, so they can't mind sap your creatures. They can't, use. I'm trying to think, is there any other flash cards that could potentially be played under? No. But
It's
either
just
way, it's
mindset.
like the combo is like, first off, Time Melt, perfect good card to counter any counters that are coming out to let you play that Foggy Night without having to waste any like negate yourself or have a negate, anything deck, because it's like, oh yeah, they want to waste it on the Time Melt, they can waste it on a Time Melt. But then on top of that, you play the Foggy Night, and like I said, it's like that kind of combo. It shuts out so much from your opponent that it's like, I don't know. I find that to be like, if you want to be a control player in Ward, like that is probably kind of those cards that you're going to be gravitating towards more. So I find that a lot, especially like you said, if we ever have these formats that are like, rare or less or whatever, it's like cards like Time Melt, cards like Foggy Night. It's like those cards are just going to be being constantly used to shut down your opponent.
I good combo. I don't know if you played Rare and Under, Fog and I would get as much use. I don't know. It maybe.
I think it would.
I think it boxes out the higher cards. I don't think it boxes out the lower cards.
Um,
Because Rare and Under, you're gonna play a lot of Eclipse anyway.
That's hard to say. It basically, but you got to look at it, Bailey. Like it's like a protect my equipment kind of stuff, right? Like again, I know your opponent will probably be heavy in equipment too, but like it's like there's 3 turns of my equipment protected, you know.
Sure.
But I do know what you mean. I definitely think it loses a lot of value because at the same time you're not gaining that too much inherent value. But it's
No, it's a
hard.
good combo. It's a good combo. I
Yeah,
like it.
it's a good combo, but it's hard to say with like rares. I like that you kind of dove down there because it's just like there's a lot of creatures at rare that I feel like could definitely just take advantage of a lot of those cards that we were talking about in average Joe format. That it's like, oh yeah, cards like that are kind of scary too. You know, Zombie Dog comes to mind. Rogue,
Yo.
Rogue, all these cards that,
Rogan Zombie Dog.
yeah, you're talking about these big hits, or there are a lot of different, interesting cards at the rare level too that would make the game spice up average Joe for sure, or whatever you'd call that. But either way, there's my Casey combo: Time Melt plus Foggy Night if you want to be the ultimate control guy. That and the scroll of silences, because Billy loves his scroll. That's the control man right there. But with that, I think we're just gonna hop to final thoughts. So tell us in the comments what you like or think about those KC combos, because I think those are always a little fun to do. I think there's a ton of little intricate ones that like a lot of people just don't really think about too much, and I kind of enjoy going through those. But final thoughts, Billy, what do you got?
Um, I think AJ format is a success. I'd like to see more of it, and I'd like to see what Gen 3 has to bring to it. So
Oh, and then the
overall,
mix, Billy. Give us the mix where you got the Gen 3 AJ format. Oh, yeah, that will be spicy. Let's go.
I mean the right like normal play is gonna be spicy too, I'm sure, but like it it's gonna feel like you. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. It just
Hmm.
feels like the expansion. We're going from like with the normal set, we're going from this to this, and from AJ, we're going from this to this. So we'll
Hmm.
we'll find out.
Nah, for sure. For me, obviously tournaments. I'm pretty stoked. I will be at the Globe tournament. Unfortunately, Billy won't be making it out to that one. Sad. Everyone can cry in the chat. Um, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to tournaments. Looking forward to the Gen 3. Just kind of moving forward with the season. Honestly, as if I want to talk real quick just for like WWB, I do have some event things that potentially will be in the works that might be coming out soon. So yeah, wow, sneaky peeky. But I won't say too much. It's not fully finalized or anything. But as soon as it is, I'm sure we will be letting you guys know. But with that, I think we'll call that episode 20, or sorry, episode 32. Flip it around, Harry, and WWB. So you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next week.